Alright, good day ladies and gentlemen. I got a very important video for y'all because in this video I want to talk about why HEX may be the best investment in history. I want to talk about the short-term, long-term fundamentals, a bunch of very important stuff you got to be aware of if you are interested in potentially making life-changing gains and potentially get financial freedom. If you like the sound of that, if you want to find out more, folks, do me a favor, like and subscribe, hit that bell icon to be notified of new uploads. And without further ado, let's open it. So folks, for those who haven't been keeping up, I'm still recovering a bit from the big cough, so if my voice sounds a little bit off, please bear with me. But I want to make it up to y'all with bringing up some very important HEX related information. Before I delve into the fundamentals and the long-term picture of HEX, I do think it's timely and important to talk about what's going on in the short term and specifically the price action. I do believe we're forming a descending triangle here on the daily chart. Oh, right here we're looking at a daily chart of HEX here, with support being from 19 cents to about 20 some odd cents. It seems like we can break out any day now. If we go over to the log chart, you can get a better sense of what I'm talking about with this descending triangle here. If we bust out our measuring tool, we can see that, you know, HEX is likely to break out out of this descending triangle within a week. And for those of you who don't know, the way you do price targets on descending triangles is that you take the height of the triangle, move that to the breakout point, and that's potentially where we could go. So could HEX potentially test our highs at around the mid 30-cent range on a bullish breakout? Potentially speaking, especially if we can start to maintain higher highs above 26 cents. That could give HEX the psychological juice it needs to test this mid 30-cent range. And personally speaking, folks, until HEX can spend time, get dailies, 3 days, weeklies, closing on a higher high above 35.5 cents, 36 cents, then HEX is still in a macro downtrend. So something to wear, folks, as well. It would be bearish in the short term if we lost 19 cents. So 19 cents we want to hold as support if you are a bull. If we break out bullishly and maintain higher high above 25.5 cents, 26 cents, then we could probably see bullish continuation. Now, something else to look out for is looking at the 12-hour RSI here. If we draw a trend line here, this is acting as resistance. If we can get a higher high above this red trend line, that could be a signal that HEX is ready to break out and impulse bullishly. Just to show you guys an example of the power of these kinds of RSI trendline breakouts, if we draw another trend line from this peak in RSI to this peak here, we can see that as soon as we broke out here, that was this candlestick right here, right about here, and from that breakout we had, you know, roughly 84% impulse to the upside. So folks, you know, finding these breakouts on higher time frame RSIs can be very helpful for timing bullish impulses. So folks, something to look out for here. HEX seems like it wants to break out of a descending triangle sometime within the next week. If we break above this trend line here on the 12-hour RSI for HEX, that could be our first signal that we are ready to impulse to the upside. And just to kind of show you guys a bit more of a clean picture, this is what I'm referring to with our descending triangle. I know many HEX people would get mad at me if I didn't mention the fundamental side of HEX and just brought up the chart. Folks, looking at the payout per t-shirt, we can see that HEX is now paying out well above or just above 6 HEX per t-shirt. It's very good to see. I remember back when we used to see numbers just above the 5 range here. We can see we've been steadily increasing for a good bit here. All right, so folks, that's the short-term price action. But why is it that HEX should be the best investment in cryptocurrency? Folks, you know, I've been making fantastic points for what feels like forever, but I recently made a particularly great point when in a conversation with Messon just the other day. For those who don't know, me and Messon, we both run this channel. Like and subscribe. I brought up the point in discussion of HEX and our investment philosophy, which is, when was the first version of any technology ever truly the best version, or the version that stuck around for the long term? I mean, folks, you know, the Model T was the first car ever. Do we see Model Ts driving around today? Flip phones. Do we still see flip phones around today? No, folks. Technology evolves. Technology gets better. People improve on the ideas of old. And in that spirit, I feel the need to talk about HEX because I feel that HEX is Bitcoin 2.0. Bitcoin took the idea of, well, it was originally meant to be peer-to-peer cash, but it's today evolved to be a digital store of value. And HEX said, hey, let's take that idea and let's see how far we can take this idea of a digital store of value that's scarce. How far can we optimize that idea? And Richard R. and the HEX team settled upon a set of tokenomics that are the most interesting I've seen out of any crypto in all of this crypto land, folks. Folks, for those of you who don't know, the whole point about HEX is a staking coin. It's meant to monetize the value of time. But you know, you could say, hey Brandon, aren't there a million staking coins out there? Can't you earn interest on basically the vast majority of cryptocurrencies out there? And while yes you can, HEX is unique in this way. Folks, HEX has a T-share system where the way you earn interest in HEX is through staking, where you lock up and stake your HEX anywhere from 1 day all the way to 5,555 days, which is just over 15 years. And you get to choose how many days you want to stake, or if you want to stake at all. You may not stake and just remain liquid if you so choose so. But if you do decide to stake, you will be allotted a certain amount of T-shares. And those T-shares is what gives you a payout every single day in HEX terms. We can see that currently one T-share pays an individual just over 6 HEX every single day. Now the catch, folks, is that the price of a T-share, the cost to attain a T-share, is designed to forever increase in value. So folks, in HEX, the bigger and longer you stake, the more T-shares you earn. But T-shares always get more expensive to get. So if we start to realize that HEX is essentially a money printer where it gets forever more expensive to get that money printer, then you realize that the market is forever incentivized to stake the biggest amount they can for the longest amount of time they can, the earliest they can, before a T-share gets more and more expensive. It gets more and more expensive on a daily basis, pretty much, folks. So what you start to realize, once you start to realize how the T-share system works, is that there is a correlation mechanism, that the price is forever incentivized to chase the value of something that only goes up. So folks, while I personally love to point out bullish divergence on our indicators in our RSI, there's another kind of divergence, bullish divergence, that I'd like to bring up. So Whales Only, we brought him on the channel, great guy, knows a lot about HEX. He makes a lot of very fantastic HEX charts, and so I want to attempt to explain this chart probably a little bit better than he can real quick here. So folks, look, this is a very important chart for what I'm going to. This is a very important chart, and I'm going to try and explain simply as to why I think this chart is so important, because all this chart is showing us is the cumulative value that T-shares pay out over time and how that's tracked along the price action. And all this means, folks, is that the HEX system continues to produce value. The system is designed to pay out inflation, to pay out HEX, where HEX inflates at a rate of 3.69% a year, and that gets paid out to the stakers. More stakers stake, everyone earns less. Less stakers stake, everyone earns more. And so all this is showing us is that over time, the system continues to produce value. And so how long can price really go down for if the system in the background is forever constantly producing value? So whenever you have price go down and the system continue to produce value, well, that's a kind of fundamental bullish divergence. As we can see, bullish divergence, not so much right here, but as one can see bullish divergence on the RSI, this is technical bullish divergence. One can also see fundamental bullish divergence. So, folks, HEX is an endlessly interesting system that took the idea of Bitcoin, of what can the best store of value be, and tried to optimize that idea as far as possible. How far can we take a store of value? And with this HEX T-share system, I believe that HEX has the most bullish tokenomics of any cryptocurrency I've seen in all my years of being in crypto land. Not to mention, good folks, that when Pulsechain goes live, Pulsechain is a fork of Ethereum. It is a competitor to Ethereum. we will get a copy of all our existing liquid HEX and staked HEX on the Pulsechain, essentially doubling your holdings. That means, folks, if you're an average size, average length staker in HEX, that means you're earning roughly 38% a year. But when Pulsechain goes live, your stakes are going to be doubled, meaning you could earn on aggregate over 60-70% a year consistently, year over year, on what's likely to be one of the world's best performing assets. I mean, folks, this thing did a 10,000x in less than 2 years for a reason. It's because there's a correlation mechanism that forever incentivizes the price action to chase the value of something that only goes up. Folks, come on. There's a 2x incoming. There's a breakout incoming here. Folks, HEX is my #1 long-term investment currently because I believe HEX is an improvement upon the idea of what Bitcoin set out to do, to take over legacy financial systems and put it in control of the people. And HEX, I think, is the best cryptocurrency I've seen that has optimized that idea of scarcity, because she forever incentivizes removing circulating supply through this T-share system, folks. Look, something you gotta understand, Pulsechain and PulseX are the sacrifice phases where people can send cryptocurrency and get allocation to these new projects have been going on for the last several months. So a bunch of HEX that could theoretically enter circulating supply has been sacrificed for these two cryptocurrencies. We recently went through the largest cluster of unstakes in history for HEX. We recently went through one of the most massive sell-offs for HEX. At some point, folks, sellers will get exhausted. At some point, that technical and fundamental bullish divergence will catch up to the price action. Whether it's 1 month from now, 1 year from now, 5 years from now, folks, I do believe that HEX will go on to be one of the best performing assets in history. Let me know what you think down in the description below. Folks, I'm trying to wrap up this video. If you notice a bunch of edits, it's because I'm still coughing quite a bit. Again, my throat is still pretty raw. So, folks, I appreciate you bearing through this video and me attempting to get sentences out without coughing out my lungs. Appreciate you all so much. Make sure you like and subscribe. Hit that bell icon to be notified of new uploads. And until next time, take care.